Chris, tell me, how are you automating your podcast agency now? How are you leveraging AI to make your systems better?
Well, just like you, Mark, I try them all. And that's, the time that it saves me, I probably am replacing it with trying all the other ones as well. But I learned early in this business when I started doing this podcasting business and I wanted it to be just primarily audio. I learned as I was going through it, podcasters, they don't just care about the audio, they care about video. They care about all the stuff that goes into that video, the show notes, the keywords, all the stuff that, your TubeBuddy might do for you. And they don't have time for all of this stuff. They don't have time to make the audio sound good. They don't have time to make all of the stuff after the episode, like videos and the snippets and the shorts and all the things to promote the show that you just did, because the show that you do is just the start, right? You've got to promote it afterwards. And so I was always looking for ways to shorten that. And just like everyone else, I've got pain points too. And one of my pain points was writing show notes. Couldn't stand it. I'm like, okay, let me just take the guest's bio and post it in that thing. That'll work, right? But guess what? That guest's bio is all over the internet, right? What is differentiating what you're doing? What is speaking to your audience about that particular guest? And so you have to weave in something with your own voice that speaks to your audience. And so I'm always experimenting with AI. I've been doing it for years. I mean, it doesn't mean that you have to start from scratch, from a piece of paper and a pencil. I'm not a graphic artist, right? But people are complimenting me about my thumbnails and all my graphics and things. You don't think that I don't use Canva, I don't use Adobe Spark, it's not called Spark anymore, but Easel, all of these things to start with a template and then just kind of weave in my own DNA in that thing and create something using my human discernment and do something that's on brand for that particular client. You can do the same thing with show notes. You can do the same thing with tags for your videos that are promoting that particular podcast. You could do quotes, stamps. You could do scripts. All of those things can be done with AI, specifically the one that I love, and we're going to talk a little bit about, and I talked to you about at Podfest, Mark, and that is swell.ai. Huge fan of what they're doing there. Huge fan of Descript. And what Swell is doing right now is kind of what I noticed Descript was doing early in the game, is they're constantly improving it. I'm getting an email every couple of days, every week, that's saying, hey, now you can do this customization. Now you can do this. Now you can do this. So
yeah, the guys over at Swell, to your point, are very proactive. They're making it happen. They're hungry. Love them. I've been on a couple calls with Cody, who's one of the developers over there. I want to give you a little bit of pushback on something that you mentioned at the beginning here, though.
Sure.
Which is, you have a podcast and you need to promote it with all these clips and all this text and all these show notes, all that. I think it's actually the opposite way around, personally. I think that the podcast is the engine for your brand. I don't think it's the actual car itself, right? And so I think when a lot of people that are getting into podcasting consider it, they say, well, I got to create clips, I got to create show notes, emails, all this other stuff in order to promote the show. Mm-hmm. I again think it's the opposite. I don't think any of that stuff promotes the show. I think all of it together promotes you as a business owner, right? Frankly, for most people, it doesn't matter if you get 10 downloads on an episode or 10,000. What matters is the impact of showing up, building engagement on social media in perpetuity. That's the way I see it.
I fully agree with the second part of what you're saying, because I think if you're in the podcasting business to try to attain downloads, but you are not ready, right? I mean, This is a long game. And if you're in it for the downloads, you have to already have this huge brand that you're talking about to get those downloads, or have been in this thing for years and years and years. And the only reason why you would want all those downloads is because you got to show brands or sponsors that you have these things so that you could get money from it, right? But the monetization for people at our level, it comes from all kinds of other things, not the actual podcast itself. It's a marketing engine, like you said. I totally agree with what you're saying there. I think when it comes to your earlier point, as far as like the shorts and the reels and all those things, those speak to the brand for sure. But they are a great way to get attention. And if you say something and it has a direct link to your podcast, you can create listeners and viewers from that. So it's bait, right? And I think Not everyone needs it, for sure.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And I will say that if you're getting into podcasting because you want to make money and get sponsors and advertisers, just stop. Don't even think about it. Stop what you're doing right now. It's not going to work. Stop it.
Stop.
Stop it. I'm going to give you the tough love here on the After Hours Entrepreneur.